let's get to the part of the political thing of the day. You've all heard some version of this so far tonight, which is that the business groups are coming out against the federal government and a new policy they have, which is same job, same pay. Sam, what are they actually trying to achieve here? Because we've heard all night and we've seen the ads that business says that if Caroline's had the job longer than you've had the job, she deserves to get paid more because she knows more about the job. But under this system, you'll get the exact same pay on day one that she gets in year 20.
Sure. So what the draft paper says...
Sorry to talk about you like that, Caroline. There we go.
I dare say Caroline gets paid vastly more than me. Whatever.
It's all about...
She's got two cutlery trays. Quality, right? And it's quality.
She's got two cutlery trays, mate.
No. So what they're trying to address is gender inequality, right? So we know that there are some industries that are paid dramatically less because they're female dominated. Where I think this campaign is spectacularly unfair is all we have to go off right now is a draft paper. Nothing has been. There is no bit of legislation.
The cart before the horse.
Right. No single person in this discussion, Jane included, can say what is going to be in this legislation because it's not out yet.
But the campaign from the government, or is it from the business side, says it's not about women versus men. It's not about male versus female. It's about contractors and permanent versus
sure.
subcontractors.
And so that's what the business lobby is trying to say to knock it over and kill this thing before it's come about. But we don't know where the lines start and stop because the final piece of legislation hasn't been released. What's been interesting
here, this is very clever. This is old school campaigning from industry groups when if there's a vacuum, you fill the vacuum with what you think it means,
sure.
And then the government's on the back foot because they're arguing against the perception of what you say the piece of legislation is going to be. But what's interesting here, Jane, is these are the very same people who I think to some degree, while I'm glad they're standing up on industrial relations, they decided to go to the Jobs Summit and clap all that through. They decided to stand behind the Prime Minister as he signed up to greater renewable energy targets and the 43%. So I think to some degree they have diluted the capacity to scare this government.
Well, perhaps they've learnt their lesson because back at that Jobs and Skills Summit, we saw the Labor government essentially pay lip service to the business community and then roll over and have their tummy tickled by the union movement. So, of course, they're cautious this time around because we know exactly. And Sam, try and guarantee me, because we know what the unions have asked for here, try and say that you can guarantee me that a person that has less experience, that has less ability, that isn't working, that's working less hard, is going to get the same pay as someone that works harder. Reward for effort is a basic belief, not just of the Liberal Party, but of Australians more broadly. And what you're doing is actively removing that reward for effort mentality. It reduces productivity. It pushes up wages to a point where businesses won't be able to afford to keep as many people on, so unemployment will then increase. There are so many risks with this associated with this legislation, and yet Labor haven't been able to say that won't happen. That won't happen.
There is no legislation.
Guarantee me that it won't happen, though, Sam. Guarantee me that it won't happen, because you can't. Because we know what the unions want, and every time the unions want something, Labor implement it. They implement it almost to the letter. That's exactly what happened after the Jobs and Skills Summit, so why would they not do it now?
But Jane, it's simple. Same job, same pay. There's one word for that. It's socialism. And you only have to look. It is. If everyone is working for 20 years or 5 years, the same money, what incentive is there? And why the only people who benefit are the people in power, ultimately. Yeah. Look at China.
So industrial relations law is pretty complicated. I'm sure we'd all agree, right? We'd all agree.
This is a TV show, not for the next.
Sure. So going off an entire bill, an entire piece of legislation, an act of parliament off same job, same pay is a little bit reductive. We'd all agree with that,
but
right?
You'd agree that that's how these campaigns work.
Sure,
they all work.
That's
when
the campaign.
Unions do it, this is how you campaign.
Absolutely, that's the campaign. But all I'm saying is let's hold off the fire, let's hold off the analysis until we actually get a piece of legislation and we can actually say, well, hold on, here's where it's going to start, here's where it's going to stop, here's the test that's going to be implemented. Here's the detail. Come on.
Why can't business make ambit claims?
We're smarter than that, though. Come on.
Unions make ambit claims in the media all the time. They say, we must have a $7,000 pay rise for firefighters. Government, will you deliver a $7,000 pay rise for firefighters? Probably not. Why haven't they delivered the $7,000? It's ambit claims.
Sure. But I'm just saying, on this show, Paul, above all others, that prides itself on this fierce independence of thought, surely here we can actually wait for some of the data.
We will analyse it again at that point. But I think we can agree that the very principle of same job, same pay is flawed.